Hello everyone, I'm Corey and we're talking Manpower. Today we're continuing our conversation with Mr. J. Aronowitz. He's a retired SES and the former Deputy Assistant Chief of Staff G1 for civilian personnel. Mr. Aronowitz, thank you again for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Corey.
So, what constitutes a good leader in your mind?
Really, being a good leader is about putting out a vision to the organization and communicating it. And when I talk about communication, Corey, as a senior leader, I think the key element of communication is the ability to listen to your staff and to really understand what's going on in the organization. And so communication is key, having a vision, motivating individuals, inspiring individuals, developing individuals. All of those are really key and essential to being a good leader. Also, to be inclusive and to make sure that all the voices are heard within the organization. When I talked about this individual I brought in to the organization as GS12, she was in an occupation series that was different than what was in the organization. At the time, we had all 343 management analysts. And so this individual came in with a completely different view of the world and a completely different skill set. And so she helped some of the leaders within the organization start to challenge some of our own beliefs about some of the underpinnings within the organization and made us much better leaders. And so it is about getting some diversity in the organization and being inclusive and making sure that everyone's voice is heard.
So, what is the difference then between a good leader and a bad leader, and can you learn from both types?
Well, again, a bad leader is kind of the antithesis of of a good leader, and some of the skill sets that I mentioned, and there's always a little bit of a nuance, and sometimes it's when I say small things, I remember as a manager one time I had a leader who set up his desk so that his computer, his back would be to the door as he worked at the computer. And so, you would knock on the door when you wanted to engage with him, and he would just say, "What?" And he would never turn around and make eye contact with you. And you would have a conversation with this leader, but he would never look at you. It was always, towards his back. And so I always said, gee, as I move up as a senior leader, I will never turn my back, have my back positioned in the office where I can't, make eye contact and have a dialogue with my staff. And so there are just even some of these small nuanced things within our day-to-day work environment that we have with our staff and employees and between each other that as you move up, you start to say, gee, these are the things that I've liked about some of my leaders, and these are the things that I haven't liked about my leaders, and obviously build upon those attributes that you've seen as positive.
I know we spoke a little bit about this in our previous interview, that you were around kind of leaders from kind of the first time you got into the federal government. Very early on in your career, you were going to meetings and you were interacting with these kind of senior leaders and things like that. Do you think that helped you develop your kind of leadership style, and what kind did you take away when you were kind of in the room with those type of leaders?
It absolutely did, Corey. And I think what I gained an appreciation for most was the communication that goes on at different levels of leadership. In other words, when I'm talking to my division chief and the information that I provide to my division chief, it's much different than the information that I provide to senior leaders and the communication style that I have with senior leaders. Number of reasons behind that. First of all, the amount of time that leaders have available as you start to move up the chain. They have less and less time to sit down and actually work through whatever you may be a subject matter expert on. And so it's understanding that you've got to tailor the information. You've got to understand and know the leadership's style for receiving information, and it varies. Some leaders, like a lot of narrative information in briefings, and others are much more comfortable seeing graphs, bar graphs, pie charts, things of that nature. And so it's knowing the communication style of the senior leader. And so as I moved up in my career, I had to be cognizant of how to tailor the information and present it to senior leaders, and also understand that they have access to information that impacts on whatever the issue is that I don't. And so I always did try and reach out to other stakeholders that I thought would be impacted by the issue, to understand their position and incorporate that in the information that I presented. And again, understanding that as you move up the chain of leadership, that they do have access to other information that would impact their final decision.
So it kind of seems to me that developing talking to senior leaders and talking, knowing your audience, so to speak, is kind of a skill in and of itself. You have to kind of develop that and know what your immediate boss is, and what their boss what type of information they want, and then knowing your kind of audience when you're briefing it. Does that hold true?
Absolutely.
So, what would your advice be to someone who wants to build and develop their leadership skills?
Well, first of all, you really need to seek to challenge yourself wherever you're at organizationally. If you aspire to be a branch chief, sit down and talk to a branch chief. It could be yours today or others, and say, what are the challenges that you have at your level? What did it take for you to get to your level? What are their experiences with regard to their interaction with, say, the division chief or those above them? Seek out developmental opportunities. The Army, through the Senior Executive Talent Management, Enterprise Talent Management, and Emerging Leaders Program, have some great developmental opportunities out there. But that doesn't mean that anyone or organization should be constrained by those developmental opportunities. So I would really encourage individuals to seek out establishing development opportunities, to work on projects that are going to stretch them. What you really want to do as you seek to be a leader is to be stretched, to be challenged, to pick up new skills, to be exposed to meetings of senior leaders. So part of it should be working on a team or project that's going to present information to a senior leader, to understand the dynamics of the organization and the leaders within that organization.
Well, that's a lot for me to take in, and a lot for me to ponder. Mr. Aronowitz, thank you very much. I really appreciate you coming out of retirement. I know the Pentagon doesn't seem like a foreign place to you, but it's good to have you back in for today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Corey.
Well, everyone, that does it for this segment. We look forward to our next segment next week. In the meantime, feel free to like us on Facebook, which is facebook.com/ArmyCP26. And until next time, have a great Army Day.